Chapter 7. The Blitz, the Bismarck and Barbarossa, April to June 1941. There's no doubt that 1941 was a crucial year, full of developments in World War II for Adolf Hitler and all those who opposed him. With France now controlled by the Germans, Britain had been left to fight on alone, taking the full brunt of the Nazi attack. Despite all expectations, however, they had been able to weather the storm, and by April, Germany had changed tactics, resorting to the bombing of British seaports rather than targeting the nation's towns and cities in an effort to dominate at sea after losing the Battle of Britain back in 1940. In the Mediterranean, Germany was dealt a bitter blow by the Allies at the Battle of Matapan, but with Hitler's great favourite, General Erwin Rommel, beginning his march into Allied-held territory in North Africa, the global conflict was spreading. Italian forces under Mussolini had also been drawn into the North African campaign, hindering the British in Somaliland and Ethiopia. For Britain's Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, who had already proved himself to be a worthy opponent for Adolf Hitler, securing support from America was vital, and although President Roosevelt had done all that he could, the people of the USA were still staunchly against entering the war to fight for the Allies. Even so, Adolf Hitler knew that he had a huge battle on his hands with Churchill on the other side of the English Channel. But as if that wasn't enough, the German Fuhrer was ready to look east towards Russia, the nation he had signed a non-aggression pact with before storming into Poland in 1939. Would Hitler dare go back on his word and attack the Soviet Union before completing his plans to invade Great Britain? The events of April, May and June 1941 were about to answer this question and many more besides. As April 1st dawned, there was a difficult time ahead for the Allies in North Africa. Rommel, who would become better known as the Desert Fox because of his cunning desert strategies, was already beginning his ruthless assault on the Allied-held lines. The German Africa Corps swiftly gained the upper hand, and the British troops, given the task of defending the territory, went into retreat. Rommel was pleasantly surprised at the ease with which this happened, and moved his troops towards Benghazi, and on April the 3rd took Libya's second city. Encouraged, Rommel soon set his sights on Tobruk as a prelude to making a German advance into Egypt. North Africa and the Middle East were hotbeds of activity during this phase of World War II, as all sides in the conflict fought to maintain access to oil supplies, with Axis supporters in countries like Iraq giving the Allies a real challenge. And while the Nazi cause was being furthered, their fellow Germans were making major advances in Europe. By April 6th, forces were employing their incredibly successful blitzkrieg tactics wherever they went, and the Allied troops stationed in Greece were quickly defeated. Again, the Allies were forced into retreat, and Hitler's domination was increasing daily. The first weeks of April 1941 were, from the point of view of military strategy, absolutely fascinating. As Hitler accelerated his plans to invade Russia, it was Winston Churchill who directed Sir Stafford Cripps, the British ambassador in Moscow, to deliver a message to Joseph Stalin warning of a possible German attack. Just a few weeks later, Churchill warned Stalin in person of Hitler's plans, based on ultra-intelligence reports. But by this stage, the Russian leader was already preparing, drafting in extra troops to defend the nation's borders while bringing in reinforcements to protect Moscow. And while Churchill and Stalin were fully occupied, Hitler had quickly made a pact with the Japanese, promising that if they found themselves in conflict with the USA, something that was looking increasingly likely, then Germany would join them in declaring war on America. The Soviets signed a similar treaty with Yugoslavia in case of a German attack, while, to complicate matters even further, Japan and the Soviet Union signed a 5-year non-aggression pact. With so much tactical manoeuvring going on and switching of allegiances, it was difficult for anyone to predict what was going to happen next. But for those being targeted by Adolf Hitler, the most imminent threat was all they had time to worry about. In Northern Ireland, Belfast suffered a brutal
Sample complete. Ready to continue?